A mom left her toddler with her dog, and when she returned, she couldn't believe her eyes. Morning light spilled across the quiet neighborhood in Redwood City, warming the windows of a cozy, single-story home on Elmwood Avenue. Within those walls, 3-year-old Lily giggled in a soft patch of sunlight, her tiny hands clutching her beloved stuffed giraffe. Her mother, Mia, stood in the kitchen, watching them both, Lily and Winston, the family's gentle golden retriever, sharing a serene moment in the living room. In that instant, life felt perfectly balanced. Little did Mia know that her decision to leave for a few minutes that day, trusting Winston to keep an eye on Lily, would change her perspective on love, loyalty, and hope forever. Mia had moved to Redwood City shortly after her daughter's birth. She always believed Redwood City's warm, year-round climate and vibrant community were the perfect setting to raise a child. Her small house on Elmwood Avenue wasn't anything grand: a white picket fence, a modest yard with carefully planted marigolds, and a turquoise front door that squeaked whenever it was opened. But to Mia, this place radiated comfort and potential. It was, in every sense, a home she had built with her own 2 hands. For many years, Mia felt like life had been a revolving door of challenges. Growing up, she'd been close to her mother, Grace, who worked long shifts at Sequoia Hospital in Redwood City. Grace's dedication to helping others as a nurse inspired Mia from a young age. However, their bond was tested when Grace became severely ill. Mia had spent her teenage years rushing to care for her mother, balancing homework and hospital visits. In the end, while Mia stood by Grace's side until her final breath, she lost her mother to a swift and unrelenting illness. That experience, though harrowing, was also the foundation of Mia's resilience. She learned to persevere, to believe in love, no matter how fleeting, and to cultivate gratitude even when the odds seemed against her. After Grace's passing, Mia earned a small inheritance that allowed her to finish school and secure a modest down payment on the little home she later bought. Envisioning a fresh start in Redwood City, when Lily was born, Mia felt renewed purpose. She poured her entire heart into motherhood, determined to give her daughter the warmth, affection, and stability she had known before her mother's passing. Redwood City offered a sense of safety, a place where neighbors helped each other with yard work, children dashed around on bicycles, and weekend farmers' markets boasted sweet, sun-ripened strawberries that Lily adored. The only thing that bothered Mia about her new environment was the quiet echoing in the house. The emptiness was overwhelming when Lily, still an infant, would cry in the middle of the night, and Mia found herself longing for anyone to share the burden of sleep-deprived nights. Mia had parted ways with Lily's father amicably before the birth. They were 2 people who had realized, a little too late, that they wanted drastically different things out of life. Still, she sometimes wished she had more company in that snug little home. That changed the day. Mia met Winston. She'd gone to the Redwood City Animal Shelter, hoping to find a calm, gentle dog that would fit her household. She strolled by kennel after kennel of barking, restless animals until she finally saw a furry golden retriever huddled quietly in the corner of his enclosure. His soft, sad eyes seemed to speak to her, as if he could sense her loneliness. There was something comforting, almost wise, in the way he tilted his head at her. She felt an immediate bond. Winston had been relinquished by a previous family who could no longer care for him. Shelter staff explained that he was 3 years old, healthy, and known for his calm demeanor. Mia couldn't imagine why anyone would give up such a sweet dog. Without hesitation, she signed the adoption papers. Bringing Winston home was one of Mia's most cherished memories. She placed Lily, barely walking at the time, in the living room and watched as Winston padded gently towards the tiny girl. He sniffed Lily's outstretched hand and licked it just once, carefully, as though acknowledging a precious new friend. Lily erupted into giggles. In that moment, Mia's heart melted. At last, the house felt complete. They fell into a comfortable routine. Mia would rise before dawn, feed Winston, check on Lily, and then begin her day. After breakfast, Mia often took Lily and Winston on brisk walks around the block. The neighbors soon recognized Winston's wagging tail and Lily's toothy grin. On weekends, they visited Redwood City's Pulgus Ridge Preserve, wandering under a canopy of oaks while Winston bounded happily beside them. Life wasn't perfect, but Mia felt deeply content. She could see her own resilience mirrored in Winston's eyes. He, too, was starting anew, carving out a loving place in a home where he was truly wanted. If only those days could have gone on forever. But as Mia would soon learn, the most transformative moments in life are the ones that rush in, unplanned and unexpected, turning an ordinary day into an extraordinary story of love, loyalty, and awe. Before Winston's arrival, Mia had struggled with the daily juggle of single parenthood. She did her best to keep the bills paid by working part-time as an assistant at a local physical therapy clinic near Redwood City's downtown. Because Lily was so young, daycare expenses ate into most of Mia's earnings. It felt like a never-ending cycle: work, daycare payments, groceries, rinse, repeat. She hardly had time for personal pursuits, let alone the self-care that everyone insisted she needed. After adopting Winston, however, a subtle transformation began. His presence alone seemed to bring calm to the household. On days when Lily fussed or refused to nap, Winston would trot over to her, rest his chin on her tiny lap, and turn those big brown eyes on her. Sooner or later, Lily would quiet down, entranced by her furry companion. This small relief gave Mia the extra 10 minutes she needed to regain her energy, fold laundry, or simply breathe. No one had ever explicitly called Winston a therapy dog, but he acted like one in many ways. When Mia felt overwhelmed, whether about finances or about being a single parent, she found solace in Winston's calm eyes. He would lie beside her on the couch, a comforting warmth at her side, while Lily napped in her crib. Mia began to realize that she didn't feel quite so alone anymore. That sense of balance extended beyond the house. Taking Winston for walks became a favorite form of exercise and meditation. Redwood City's neighborhoods were often lined with bright flowers, geraniums, hydrangeas, and daisies. Mia observed details she had overlooked before: the hum of distant traffic, the subtle fragrance of freshly cut grass, and the chatter of neighbors greeting each other over white fences. She discovered that walking Winston wasn't just about giving him exercise. It was also a way to find a few moments of tranquility. Gradually, Mia's focus on this new sense of balance grew. Determined to improve her life, she began to reflect on her long-standing dreams. As a child, she had been fascinated by drawing and painting. She had drifted away from art to care for her mother, believing that her artistic aspirations were frivolous in the face of real-world hardships. But Winston's presence seemed to awaken a buried spark in her. Whenever Lily slept, Mia allowed herself to sketch again. She drew Winston, Lily's tiny shoes, and Redwood City's leafy streets. Those small acts of creativity renewed her spirit and gave her an outlet for her anxieties. One bright afternoon, Mia placed Lily in a stroller and walked the short distance to a local cafe. Phil's Coffee, a place that felt more personal and authentic to her than any chain. She sat outside on a bench, cradling an aromatic cup of coffee, Winston's leash looped loosely around her wrist, and Lily contently gnawing on a teething biscuit. She watched the passers-by, some in business attire, rushing back to the office, others in yoga pants, heading to the next class. She felt a strange sense of belonging. Mia found that Redwood City offered not only scenic beauty, but also a community that valued relationships. Over time, she got to know neighbors and fellow dog walkers. They recognized Winston's friendly wag and Lily's unwavering curiosity. Casual greetings turned into brief conversations, fostering a sense of belonging that Mia never had before. While Mia had never quite found her footing in the hustle of big cities, Redwood City's suburban pace seemed to match her calmer, introspective nature. Yet, as content as she was with her daily routines, Mia also experienced fear. She feared an uncertain future. She worried about Lily's well-being if something were to happen to her. She worried about not earning enough to save for Lily's college education. She worried about time, how swiftly it was passing, how she might lose this fragile balance at any moment. There were nights she lay awake, listening to the rhythmic breathing of her child and dog, haunted by a gnawing voice reminding her of how fleeting stability could be. Through all this, Winston remained a constant. His gentle companionship reassured her that she was not alone in her responsibilities. There was an unspoken agreement between dog and owner that no matter what storms the future held, they would face them together. It gave Mia something intangible: courage. Sometimes, courage is born from small but consistent acts of love, and Winston provided that in abundance. Unbeknownst to Mia, their family's greatest test was drawing ever closer. Their ordinary days were about to be disrupted in a way that would forever underscore the depth of Winston's devotion to Lily. From the moment she was born, Lily had been a bright, curious child. Her eyes, the color of hazelnuts, drank in every detail of her surroundings. By the time she turned 3, she was talking in fragmented sentences, repeating everything, Mia said in an effort to piece together the mysteries of language. She was also discovering the wonders of walking, running, and occasionally tumbling, all with enthusiastic abandon. To Lily, the world was a vibrant playground. The living room couch became a mountain to conquer. The front yard was a floral wonderland, and even Winston's tail was an object of endless fascination. Winston, for his part, approached Lily's explorations with patience and warmth. He would let her gently tug on his ears, clumsily pat his back, and offer him imaginary sips of her toy teacups. Mia often marveled at her daughter's blooming personality. She saw traces of Grace, Mia's mother, in Lily's empathetic gaze and caring gestures. Although Lily was only 3, she had an uncanny ability to sense emotions in others. If Mia ever appeared upset, Lily would toddle over, pressing her small hand to her mother's cheek and asking in her soft toddler voice, "Mommy sad?" It never failed to melt Mia's heart. Because Redwood City was brimming with family-friendly spots, Mia would frequently take Lily to Stafford Park on weekends. There, Lily would toddle around the playground, squealing in delight at the sight of other children. Mia encouraged her independence, watching closely as Lily navigated small slides and wobbly steps, her pigtails bouncing with each step. Winston usually accompanied them, lying calmly in the shade near a park bench, always keeping an eye on Lily. Every so often, he'd lift his head as if to make sure she was safe. Lily's sense of wonder also extended to the little tasks at home. She loved helping Mia with chores, handing her clothespins, while Mia hung laundry or rearranging the lower pans in the kitchen cupboards. Mia learned to be patient with Lily's toddler speed and occasional messes. It warmed Mia's heart to see Lily so eager to be part of everything, even as it slowed her down. In the evenings, Mia instituted a bedtime routine that quickly became Lily's favorite part of the day. After dinner, simple meals like spaghetti with homemade sauce or grilled cheese cut into fun shapes, Lily had bath time. She splashed around with rubber ducks, Winston watching from a safe distance outside the bathroom door. Then came the best part, reading in bed. Mia would pick out a picture book, often one of Lily's favorites like Goodnight Moon, and Lily would nestle into her mother's lap, fixated on the words and illustrations. Winston would hop onto the foot of the bed, curling up like a giant furry pillow, content just to be near them. Through these consistent routines, Lily felt secure in her tiny world. She knew that no matter what each day brought, She could count on Mummy's presence and Winston's warm body to cuddle. This sense of security fueled her curiosity and courage. She became more adventurous, testing her limits around the house and yard. Mia made sure to supervise her whenever possible, but every parent knows how quickly little ones can get into mischief. Lily's closeness with Winston was particularly remarkable. Most children love animals, but Lily treated Winston like a sibling. When she discovered a new snack, she always tried to share a morsel with Winston, much to Mia's cautious disapproval if it was something Winston shouldn't eat. When Lily got a new set of crayons, she insisted on trying to color Winston's paws, an event Mia managed to stop in time. And at nap time, Lily refused to sleep unless Winston was in the room. Mia felt grateful for their bond. She recognized it as a beautiful gift, one that she had a role in nurturing. After all, not every dog is as patient or as gentle as Winston, and not every child is as caring as Lily. Their connection was a daily reminder that love doesn't abide by the boundaries of species. It simply seeks to express itself wherever it finds resonance. Still, Mia knew she had to be vigilant. Even the gentlest dog could respond poorly in a stressful situation. She made sure Lily understood the basic rules: no pulling Winston's fur, no jumping on his back, and always approach him calmly. As Lily turned 3, Mia felt proud of how well Lily followed these guidelines. She cherished the spark she saw in her daughter's eyes when Winston padded into a room. That spark was about to take on new meaning. A single day one day that began as an unremarkable part of their usual routine would soon highlight the depth of Lily's relationship with Winston in a way that would astonish everyone, including Mia. Ever since her mother's death, Mia had navigated life with a humble sense of faith. She wasn't particularly religious, but she believed in hope, in second chances, and in the quiet, steadfast beauty of love. Yet she also knew how quickly life could shift from tranquility to chaos. That lingering awareness pricked at her more insistently one mild evening in June. Lily was already in bed, Winston curled up beside her crib, and Mia was sitting on the living room couch. She sipped a mug of chamomile tea while scrolling through job listings on her phone. The physical therapy clinic where she worked was steady, but part-time hours weren't enough to cover all expenses comfortably. If she could find a slightly higher paying position, maybe in administrative support somewhere, she might manage to put away a little savings for Lily's future. But each listing seemed more discouraging than the last. Some required a college degree or certifications Mia didn't have. Others demanded hours that would conflict with her daycare schedule. She sighed, setting her phone aside. A wave of exhaustion mingled with frustration. She glanced over at Winston, who had padded into the living room for a moment. He tilted his head, inquisitive, and she couldn't help but smile. "Hey, buddy," she whispered. "Wish me luck, huh?" She reached out to scratch him behind the ears. His tail thumped softly against the floor. On a whim, Mia began brainstorming other avenues, maybe an online certification course in medical coding, something she could do from home. Her thoughts raced, each idea leading to the next, until she felt her heart pound a little too heavily. Taking a few deep breaths, she reminded herself that tomorrow was another day. She'd keep searching, keep working. After all, the roof over her head was stable, Lily was healthy, and Winston seemed content. For now, that had to be enough. The sense of anxious determination that fueled Mia was also what led her to push herself to the brink. She rarely asked for help, fearing she might burden others. Though Redwood City's community was friendly, Mia felt reluctant to depend on neighbors or acquaintances. She carried her responsibilities like a lone warrior, forgetting that even the strongest people need a network of support. Late that night, a single event shook her. Lily woke up crying, her wails echoing down the hallway. Mia found her daughter flushed and sweaty, tears streaming down her cheeks. Winston was pacing anxiously beside the crib. Mia quickly took Lily's temperature. It was alarmingly high. Terror flooded her. She called the after-hours pediatric line at Redwood Pediatrics, one of Redwood City's trusted clinics. They advised her to give Lily a fever reducer and observe for further symptoms. Mia cradled her feverish daughter, rocking her gently until the crying subsided. Winston sat at their feet, whining softly, as though to express his empathy. The fever eventually broke, and Lily fell asleep in Mia's arms. Mia placed her back in the crib and curled up next to them on the floor, Winston resting his chin on Mia's knees. As she listened to Lily's breathing, Mia whispered a silent prayer of gratitude for Winston's unwavering presence. That scare, while resolved by morning, left Mia a bit shaken. She realized how quickly things could go wrong and how terrifying it felt to face a crisis alone. Lily recovered with surprising speed. Toddlers are often resilient that way, but Mia was left with a lingering sense of vulnerability. She tried her best to set it aside, resuming her routines and continuing her job search with renewed urgency. The next few weeks sailed by in relative calm. Lily returned to her explorations, Winston to his gentle guardianship, and Mia to her delicate balancing act of childcare and part-time employment. Yet a subtle tension still hummed beneath Mia's daily tasks, reminding her that the line between safety and danger can be frighteningly thin. In hindsight, Mia would always think back to that fever scare as a warning sign. It was a nudge from the universe, a whisper to remain vigilant, to cherish the fragile stability she had. But life's lessons often reveal themselves only after we've crossed the threshold of crisis. And so Mia pressed on, thinking she was prepared for anything. She had faith in her own resilience, her child's strength, and her dog's unwavering devotion. Yet no amount of faith could have prepared her for what was coming, a moment so surprising and heart-stopping that it would transform her understanding of family and love forever. 5. The morning that changed everything. Approximately 700 words. It was a warm Saturday morning, with a gentle breeze sweeping through Redwood City's streets, rustling the leaves on the ancient oak in Mia's front yard. Lily woke up unusually early, toddling into Mia's bedroom with Winston right behind her, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. Mia smiled as Lily climbed into her bed and announced, "Sun's up, Mommy." Winston placed his paws on the edge of the mattress, tail wagging in lazy circles. Mia had planned a day full of errands. The fridge was almost empty, and the household essentials list had grown too long to ignore milk, eggs, diapers, cleaning supplies, and a new pair of sneakers for Lily. She briefly considered bundling Lily up for a morning trip to the nearby Target, but Lily was notoriously fussy during extended shopping excursions, and Winston wasn't allowed inside unless he was a service dog. The prospect of navigating crowded aisles with a restless toddler didn't thrill Mia. As she checked her schedule, she realized she could streamline her tasks if she ran out alone for an hour or two. Lily could stay at home. Normally, Mia arranged for a babysitter or asked her neighbor, Karen, to watch Lily when she needed to run errands. But Karen was out of town that weekend, and Mia dreaded last-minute phone calls to acquaintances. She peered down at her daughter, who was busily babbling to Winston, and weighed her options. Winston had always been exemplary with Lily, especially in the house. He was more than just a protective dog. He acted like Lily's guardian, always alert and patient. Yet Mia had never left Lily fully alone with Winston for more than a few minutes, like when she dashed out to pick up the mail or do a quick chore in the garage. Still, Lily was 3 now, not an infant. She was capable of sitting quietly in front of the television for a short while. Mia's conscience wavered, but the convenience was tempting. In the end, practicalities won out. Mia made sure the doors were locked, set Lily up in the living room with her favorite educational cartoons, and made sure Winston had fresh water. She gently explained to Lily that she'd be back soon and to stay in the living room. Lily responded with a sunny, "Okay, Mummy." Winston wagged his tail as if to say, "Don't worry, I've got this." Feeling both guilty and relieved, Mia hopped into her second-hand Toyota Corolla and headed for the store. Throughout the drive, she couldn't shake a nagging sense of unease. She reminded herself that it was only a short trip, 20 minutes to Target, maybe another 20 minutes to gather items, and 20 to return. An hour tops. Winston was practically a nanny in a furry coat. Lily was old enough to handle a brief separation, right? Yet the errands took longer than Mia expected. Lines were unexpectedly long, and she had to visit multiple aisles searching for sale items. By the time she had checked out, nearly an hour and a half had passed. She stuffed the groceries into the trunk and glanced at the time on her phone. Her stomach tightened. She imagined Lily alone in the house, even with Winston there, and worry sprang up like a sudden, relentless tide. Without further stops, she drove home, her heartbeat accelerating as she pulled into the driveway. The house appeared still and silent under the mid-morning sun. She hurried to the front door, juggling grocery bags, and fumbled with her keys. The door opened with a creak, and she called out, "Lily, Mommy's home." No response, just the soft hum of the television in the living room. Panic prickled at the edges of her thoughts. She rushed in and found the living room empty. Lily's favorite cartoon was paused on the screen, the characters frozen mid-action. Her heart seized. Where had Lily gone? Then a giggle floated from down the hall. Mia followed the sound to Lily's room, feeling the tension in her chest lighten, though not completely fade. She stepped inside and froze at the sight before her. Lily sat on the carpet, her legs crisscrossed, holding a thick white book open in front of her. Winston was beside her, resting on his haunches, his snout almost touching the pages. They looked like two companions sharing a secret story. What truly took Mia's breath away was Lily's rapt expression, as though she was in the presence of something magical. The book in her lap wasn't a standard picture book. It was one of Mia's old sketchbooks that she kept on a shelf in Lily's closet. Lily's small fingers traced the pencil lines of Mia's artwork. Winston watched closely, occasionally nudging Lily's shoulder with his nose in encouragement. They both looked up when Mia entered. Lily beamed widely and exclaimed, "Mommy, look, pictures!" She turned the sketchbook around to reveal a rough pencil drawing Mia had done of Redwood City's skyline buildings, streets, and the iconic Fox Theatre marquee. Mia hadn't touched that sketchbook in years, assuming it was buried behind boxes of Lily's baby clothes. For a moment, Mia just stood there, caught between relief and astonishment. Any number of things could have gone wrong in her absence. Lily might have decided to wander outside, or Winston might have gotten anxious or restless. But instead, she found them bonding over Mia's forgotten art. It felt unreal, ethereal, as though the house had birthed a scene from a gentle, heartwarming story. Winston gave a contented huff, as if to say, "See, everything is fine." Lily gently ran her hand over Winston's back and giggled. In that instant, Mia felt a blend of awe and gratitude so strong that her eyes welled with tears. She slowly placed her groceries down, sinking onto her knees beside Lily. The TV was still flickering from the living room, but it was the farthest thing from Lily's mind now. She wrapped an arm around her child, pressing a soft kiss to her hair. "You found my sketchbook, baby girl?" "Aha," Lily said, pointing to a rough doodle of Winston. "I see Winston here, and there's a flower." Mia's throat tightened. She reached out to pat Winston, who leaned into her touch. "You two are just incredible," she whispered, her heart pounding with relief and love. Never in her wildest dreams had she expected to walk in on such a serene and moving tableau. In the face of her mounting worries, Winston had proven himself more than just a babysitter. He was a true guardian, fostering Lily's curiosity rather than stifling it. And Lily, with her boundless sense of wonder, had found a new way to connect with her mother through the very art Mia had once set aside. Everything else, errands, groceries, job searches, melted away in that moment. The only truth that mattered was the one shining in Lily's wide eyes and Winston's patient gaze, that love, when nurtured and given the freedom to flourish, could yield moments of breathtaking magic. In the hours that followed, Mia found herself strangely quiet, as though she was processing a profound spiritual experience rather than a mundane morning at home. After a round of warm hugs, she led Lily into the kitchen, set out some apple slices and a glass of milk, and allowed Winston a few small dog treats for his remarkable calmness under pressure. Despite the everyday routine of snack time, Mia felt like she was viewing her life through fresh eyes. What truly astonished her was Lily's excitement about the drawings. The toddler kept dragging Mia back to the forgotten sketchbook, asking questions about the pictures. "Who's this, Mommy?" Lily would say, pointing to an old self-portrait. "What's that?" she'd ask, jabbing a chubby finger at a half-finished drawing of Redwood City's courthouse square. Mia answered each question with a growing sense of wonder. She'd never really shared her artwork with Lily. It was something Mia had pushed aside, believing she had neither the energy nor the time to nurture her artistic side. She'd been too busy surviving. But now, under Lily's eager gaze, Mia began to remember the passion she once felt with pencil and paper in hand. She recalled how the sketches had served as her mental refuge during her mother's illness, how capturing the contours of everyday life on a page had brought her peace. And Winston, dear Winston, had been part of this magic. He had stayed by Lily's side, guiding her quiet exploration, perhaps nudging her to explore the pictures in the sketchbook rather than rummaging through other items that might be hazardous. It was difficult to gauge how much Winston truly understood, but his protective instincts were undeniable. When Lily finished her snack, Mia brought the sketchbook to the kitchen table. She settled Lily onto a chair beside her, propping the large sketchbook open to a blank page. Lily clapped her hands in anticipation. Mia retrieved a pencil from a nearby drawer and started drawing simple shaped circles, triangles, squares, explaining to Lily what each shape was. Lily watched, her eyes shining like stars. Occasionally, she picked up the pencil with her small fingers, attempting to mimic Mia's motions. The lines were wobbly, but the enthusiasm was real. Every so often, Winston padded over to peer at the page, perhaps hoping for another treat. Mia laughed softly, giving Winston a pat and telling him, "You're part of this family art session too, buddy." They spent a solid hour at the table, doodling and chatting. Mia realized that Lily's attention span, usually short, seemed to stretch when engaged in creative play. The house was filled with a hush of concentration, broken only by Lily's occasional giggles or exclamations of delight. Mia's heart overflowed. This moment, this quiet bonding over art, felt like the most meaningful hour she'd spent with her daughter in weeks. Eventually, Lily's eyelids grew heavy. Mia noticed the slump of her small shoulders, the subtle yawn. Nap time was approaching. She gently scooped Lily into her arms and carried her to the bedroom, Winston trotting alongside them. Placing Lily into her crib, Mia laid a light blanket over her. The toddler drifted off quickly, a small smile playing on her lips, as though even in dreams she was exploring the sketches she'd just seen. In the silence of the hallway, Mia crouched down to rub Winston's ears. "You're incredible," she whispered. "I can't believe I even considered that this might not be okay." She remembered the guilt she felt when deciding to leave Lily alone with Winston. Technically, it wasn't something she ever wanted to make a habit of. Children, after all, need adult supervision. But in that unexpected pinch of time, Winston had showcased a protective, nurturing side that was more powerful and unwavering than Mia had ever imagined. As Mia stood and gazed around the tidy hallway, gratitude washed over her. She recalled the heartbreak of losing her mother, the terrifying nights of single parenthood, and the countless worries about finances. In that swirl of complexity, it was easy to lose sight of small miracles, and yet here was one bursting with love and possibility right in her own home. Mia's thoughts turned to her future. Could she balance her part-time job with more hours to make ends meet? Would she ever be able to revisit her art more seriously? She had nearly forgotten how much joy drawing brought her. Maybe she could start small, doing commissions or selling prints online. The notion felt both thrilling and daunting. She decided right then that she would not let her dreams wither away. If Lily could find such excitement and wonder in her sketches, perhaps others could too. Perhaps she could weave art back into her life in a way that allowed her to be a more present, fulfilled mother. She looked down at Winston again, who was now sprawled out in the hallway, eyes half-lidded but still alert to any movement. Kneeling, she kissed the top of his soft head. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for protecting Lily, for guiding her, for reminding me of who I am." Winston blinked slowly, as if to say, "You're welcome." Mia realized that, at times, life delivers guidance through the most unspoken channels, like a toddler's bright curiosity or a dog's unwavering devotion. If she could have faith in these subtle messengers, maybe she could trust herself to take the next steps toward a future that was more than just surviving. Perhaps it could be thriving. By late afternoon, Lily had woken from her nap and was back to her playful self. Mia, energized by the morning's revelations, decided she wanted to commemorate the event in some way. She carefully retrieved her smartphone and snapped a few photos of Lily flipping through the sketchbook, with Winston sitting close by. In one frame, Lily was pointing happily at a doodle, while Winston leaned his head toward her, ears perked, as if listening to her toddler ramblings. Satisfied with the photos, Mia shared one on her private social media account, limited to close friends and family. The caption read, "Came home to find Lily and Winston exploring one of my old sketchbooks." I couldn't believe my eyes. "My heart is so full." She expected maybe a handful of likes and a few comments. But within hours, her post garnered more attention than anything she had posted in months, maybe even years. Friends from high school who she hadn't spoken to in ages chimed in with warm words. So precious. Look at that dog, so sweet." Others congratulated her on rediscovering her art. "Mia, you drew these. They're amazing." One comment in particular caught her attention. It was from an acquaintance named Julia, who worked as a part-time art instructor at a community center in nearby San Carlos. Julia wrote, "Mia, you have real talent. Our community center is hosting an art fair in a few months. Would you consider showcasing or teaching a kids' workshop?" Mia's heart thudded in her chest. She'd never thought of herself as a professional artist. Sure, she'd harbored dreams of illustrating children's books once upon a time, but life had shifted her priorities. And teaching kids? She felt an excited flutter at the idea, though it also intimidated her. She mulled it over for a few days, during which the buzz around her post gradually subsided. Yet the impact on her personal circle was palpable. Her older cousin, Daphne, called from out of state. "Mia, I can hear the excitement in your voice," Daphne exclaimed. "Seriously, this could be a sign. You've always been creative. Don't let that go to waste." Mia found herself nodding along. She was used to hearing well-meaning advice that never quite fit her reality, but something about this moment felt different, like the entire universe was conspiring to push her forward. It wasn't just about the art, though. Mia was also getting a flurry of messages from friends and neighbors who were touched by Winston's loyalty. A few people even asked if Winston was trained as an emotional support animal or therapy dog. "I guess in a way, he is," Mia would reply. She spoke at length about how Winston had become Lily's constant companion and how he seemed to intuitively know when either of them needed comfort. Words like incredible, angelic, and heartwarming were thrown around. Mia found herself brimming with gratitude yet again. She also received a private message from Lily's father, an unexpected ping that sent a jolt through her. They had parted ways amicably, but they seldom spoke unless it involved Lily's needs. He wrote, "Saw your post. Lily looks so happy. Glad you guys are doing well." For the first time in a while, Mia felt only warmth toward him. Their paths might have diverged, but she appreciated that he still cared enough to check in. She responded politely, sharing a bit more about Lily's growth, and left the conversation at that. Even with all the positive feedback, Mia wrestled with self-doubt about Julia's invitation. Could she really carve out time to teach a kid's art workshop? She worked at the physical therapy clinic 3 days a week, juggled Lily's needs, and ran the household solo. The idea of adding another commitment felt dizzying. But every time she looked at Lily or Winston, she felt a buoyant sense of possibility. Finally, she scheduled a phone call with Julia. They spoke for nearly half an hour. Julia explained that the workshop would be a short, one-day event at the community center aimed at children ages 5 to 10. She emphasized that it wasn't meant to be a high-pressure gig, just a fun introduction to sketching and creativity for local families. Think of it as a chance to share what you love, not a formal instruction class, Julia said, her tone warm and encouraging. Mia found herself smiling into the phone. I might actually be able to do that," she replied. "I just need to figure out childcare for Lily, but maybe I can bring her along if that's allowed." Julia reassured her that Lily was welcome in the supportive, family-friendly environment. When the call ended, Mia was left brimming with excitement and a healthy dose of nerves. She looked over at Winston, who was lounging near the window. Lily, perched on the living room floor, was stacking blocks in an uneven tower. Setting her phone aside, Mia knelt down beside her daughter and pulled Winston closer. "I might teach a little art class soon," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "How does that sound, Lily?" Lily beamed, oblivious to the real meaning of her mother's words. She just clapped her hands and exclaimed, "Art class!" Winston gave a small huff, his tail thumping once on the floor. In that moment, Mia felt the chord of possibility resonate through her bones. It wasn't just about sharing a post on social media or receiving compliments. It was about stepping into a future that honored her passions and her responsibility as a mother. Perhaps she was finally learning the lesson that her mother, Grace, had always tried to impart. Life is precious and short, and if we have a gift to share, we shouldn't hide it away. With Winston and Lily by her side, Mia sensed she had found her compass again. The morning she'd walked in to find them huddled over that forgotten sketchbook had set off a chain reaction, one that was gently guiding her out of her comfort zone and toward a new chapter of self-discovery and creativity. The Redwood City Community Center bustled with life on the day of the art fair. Families strolled through booths filled with homemade crafts, watercolor paintings, and pottery. Children darted around, clutching balloons in one hand and sticky treats in the other. The air hummed with conversation and laughter, while a nearby band played soft acoustic music that wafted through the open spaces. Mia arrived early to set up for the mini workshop she'd agreed, to lead a decision she still couldn't believe she'd made. She wore a simple white blouse, jeans, and comfortable sneakers. Her hair, usually pulled back in a loose ponytail, had a fresh bounce that morning, perhaps from the swirl of hopeful excitement. Lily trailed behind, clutching a small bag of crayons and looking around at the colorful scene with wide eyes. Winston was left at home for this event, which tugged at Mia's heart a bit. But bringing him along would have complicated things in such a busy environment. Julia met them at the entrance and guided Mia to a booth where she could spread out paper, pencils, and markers for the workshop. A small sign read Kids Sketching Corner, hosted by Mia. The sight of her own name on display made Mia's stomach flutter with nerves, but also filled her with a quiet sense of pride. As the start time approached, children and parents began to gather. Some recognized Mia from the flyer that had circulated locally. Others had simply stumbled upon the booth while exploring the fair. Mia cleared her throat, stepping to the front of the small semicircle of kids. Lily sat off to one side, wearing her Minnie Mouse t-shirt and swinging her legs excitedly. "Hello, everyone," Mia began, her voice wavering slightly. "My name is Mia, and today we're going to explore some fun ways to draw." She held up a simple sketch she had done that morning, a cartoonish cat with oversized eyes and whiskers. Drawing can help us express what we feel and see. So let's begin by looking at the shapes that make up this cat. Gradually, the children picked up their pencils. Mia walked around, offering gentle tips. Try making your circles light at first, so you can erase easily. Or look at the cat's ears. Aren't they just two triangles? She demonstrated how even complex drawings start with basic shapes, and the children responded with enthusiasm. Lily, determined to participate, despite being younger than the other kids, placed her paper on the floor and scribbled intently. Mia smiled down at her daughter, experiencing a rush of gratitude for this moment, a coming together of two parts of her life she'd often struggled to balance: motherhood and personal passion. The workshop lasted about 45 minutes, peppered with plenty of laughter and a few minor squabbles among siblings. By the end, the children proudly showed off their sketches. Some looked more like blobs than cats. Others were surprisingly detailed. Mia showered them all with genuine praise, explaining that art wasn't about right or wrong, but about creativity and expression. As parents and children dispersed, a few lingered to chat with Mia. One mother asked if Mia offered private lessons. Another child tugged at her sleeve and said, "Miss Mia, can you teach me how to draw a dog next time?" Mia's heart soared. She handed the child a small slip of paper with her contact information, inviting them to keep in touch, in case she decided to do more workshops. After the crowd finally moved on, Mia exhaled, feeling a sense of exhilaration and exhaustion mingling in her chest. Lily hurried over and hugged Mia's leg. "You draw, Mummy," she squealed, her toddler voice carrying a mix of pride and excitement. Mia scooped her up, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Julia approached, clapping softly. "You were a hit," she said. "I've never seen some of these kids so engaged, especially with drawing." She handed Mia a small stipend for her time, which Mia pocketed gratefully. It wasn't much, but it felt like a tangible acknowledgement of her work. As the day wore on, Mia found herself wandering the fair, Lily in tow. They admired handmade jewelry, listened to local musicians, and nibbled on freshly baked cookies sold by a local youth group. Every so often, someone recognized Mia from the workshop and offered a friendly wave. She felt a sense of belonging, of stepping into a new identity that was more than just a single mum working a part-time job to make ends meet. On the drive home, Lily nodded off in her car seat, exhausted from the excitement. Mia found her thoughts drifting to Winston. She wondered how he was doing, alone in the house. Although Winston was typically fine when left alone, she missed having him by her side. He was, in many ways, her partner in this journey, even if he was a dog. She'd often say that Winston was Lily's guardian, but he guarded Mia's heart too, providing comfort, warmth, and a reminder that she wasn't navigating life's challenges all by herself. Pulling into the driveway, Mia noticed the late afternoon sun casting golden stripes across the front yard. She carried Lily inside, carefully placing her on the couch. Winston greeted them with an enthusiastic tail wag, though he seemed to sense Lily's fatigue and quieted after a few affectionate nuzzles. Mia knelt to wrap her arms around Winston. "I missed you today," she murmured. As if in response, Winston placed his head on her shoulder, the comforting pressure reminding Mia just how far she had come since the day she brought him home from the shelter. In the silence of that tender moment, Mia felt the threads of her life weaving together. She saw the path ahead, illuminated by possibility, more workshops, more art, maybe even illustrating a children's book one day. But even if her plans didn't work out exactly as she hoped, she took solace in knowing she was surrounded by a little girl who believed in her, a dog who was her quiet anchor, and a community that was unexpectedly supportive. The future was still uncertain, but it no longer felt daunting. It felt like an open canvas, waiting for her to sketch the next chapter. In the weeks that followed, Mia's life began to shift in meaningful ways. Encouraged by the positive feedback from the art fair, she started posting her sketches on a small online marketplace, Etsy, listing them as custom portrait commissions. It was a leap of faith. She had no idea if anyone would actually pay for her work. But within a few days, she received her first request. A family in Redwood City wanted a pencil sketch of their home as a keepsake. Mia poured her heart into the drawing, capturing the cozy details of their porch and flower garden. When she delivered the final piece, the family's gratitude and excitement validated her efforts. Word of mouth began to spread. Another request came from a local mother who wanted a custom drawing of her two daughters with their German shepherd. Then, a grandmother asked for an illustration of her grandchildren playing in the yard. Slowly but steadily, Mia found herself juggling part-time work, Lily's daycare schedule, and these new art commissions. She loved the creative challenge, even if it meant late nights hunched over her sketchpad, Winston dozing at her feet while Lily slept peacefully in her room. To manage her expanding responsibilities, Mia learned to say no to projects that felt too time-consuming or outside her skill range. She reminded herself that her priority was still Lily's well-being and her own mental health. It was all about balance, something that Winston's gentle constancy helped her maintain. Whenever anxiety threatened to overwhelm her, she'd take a quick break to pet Winston or take him for a short walk. The fresh air and the rhythmic tap of his paws on the sidewalk reminded her to breathe, to find stillness amid chaos. Meanwhile, Lily continued to blossom. She was nearing her 4th birthday and seemed fascinated by every aspect of her mother's artistic journey. She'd often pull up a stool beside Mia's makeshift art desk in the living room, scribbling shapes on her own paper, occasionally holding them up for Winston's approval. Winston would wag his tail as if to say, "Excellent work, little one." Mia sometimes chuckled, imagining Winston as the wise old mentor in their cozy family story. On Lily's birthday, Mia organized a small celebration. She baked a homemade chocolate cake, decorated with bright sprinkles and a few plastic animal figurines on top. A couple of Lily's daycare friends came over with their parents, and they played simple games in the yard pin, the tail on the donkey, a scavenger hunt for candy, and a few rounds of musical chairs. Winston, wearing a goofy pink ribbon around his neck, frolicked beside them, delighting the children with his gentle presence. Toward the end of the party, Lily opened her presents. Most were standard toddler fair puzzles, stuffed animals, clothes, but one gift stood out, a beginner's art set from her father. It contained washable markers, crayons, colored pencils, and a variety of stickers. Attached was a card for Lily. "I can't wait to see what you create. Love, Dad." Lily didn't fully comprehend the sentiment, but she was thrilled by the rainbow assortment of art supplies. Mia felt a strange mixture of gratitude and sadness. Gratitude that Lily's father recognized his daughter's interests, and sadness that he couldn't be there in person. Still, she appreciated his gesture. After the party ended and friends trickled out, Mia sat on the living room floor with Lily and helped her unpack the art kit. Winston lay beside them, nibbling on a birthday treat. They spent a tranquil hour drawing multicolored scribbles and sticking silly stickers on blank sheets of paper. As Lily's eyelids grew heavy from the day's excitement, Mia scooped her up and gently tucked her into bed. In the quiet aftermath of the celebration, Mia wandered back into the living room, where Winston waited patiently. She thought about the remarkable changes that had taken place since the morning she'd left Lily with Winston and returned to that unforgettable sight. So many doors had opened, and she felt her sense of self widen beyond the identity of a stressed, single mother. She was, once again, an artist. Mia flipped through one of her old sketchbooks, pausing at a page she'd drawn during some of her darkest moments, a somber sketch capturing the silhouette of a hospital corridor. It was from the time her mother was ill. The lines were shaky, filled with sorrow. She turned to the more recent pages, vibrant scenes of Redwood City's sunsets, playful drawings of Winston, whimsical portraits of Lily reading storybooks. The progression felt like a visual record of her healing. She realized she was no longer the frightened teenager in that hospital corridor, nor the anxious new mother struggling to find her footing. She had grown, weaving her grief into something that fueled creativity and compassion. Kneeling beside Winston, she nestled her face in his soft fur. "We've come a long way, haven't we, boy?" she whispered. He responded with a gentle lick on her cheek, as if to confirm every word. A few months later, Mia's life had settled into a new, hopeful rhythm. Mornings often began with breakfast at the kitchen table, Lily happily munching cereal while Mia sipped coffee and Winston waited patiently for his share of attention. Afterwards, Lily would head off to daycare on some days, or stay with Mia on others, depending on Mia's clinic schedule and her slowly increasing art commissions. One crisp autumn day, Mia decided it was time for a proper family outing this time, with Winston in tow. She packed a light picnic lunch, grabbed Lily's hoodie, and drove them out to Redwood City's nearby Pulgas Ridge Preserve, where hiking trails meandered through oak woodlands and grass-covered hills. The sun was gentle, the air cool enough for sweaters, but still lit with the warmth of a Californian fall. As they walked along a winding trail, Lily held Mia's hand, occasionally releasing it to toddle ahead and examine an intriguing rock or a cluster of wildflowers. Winston trotted beside them, nose low to the ground, inhaling the scents of other hikers and wildlife. Now and then, he'd pause, gaze at Lily to ensure she was safe, and then hurry to catch up. The synergy between them, child and dog, was almost uncanny. Midway through the trail, they reached a small clearing surrounded by towering oaks. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating dancing patterns on the forest floor. Mia found a soft patch of grass to lay down a blanket. Lily plopped down enthusiastically, rummaging through the picnic basket for her juice box. Winston lay at the blanket's edge, ears perked. Sitting there, Mia soaked in the moment. The hush of nature enveloped them, broken only by birdsong and the distant chatter of other hikers. She felt far removed from the hustle of Redwood City's daily life. No email notifications, no long lines, no bills looming in her peripheral vision. The world felt pausable, if only briefly. She pulled out her sketchbook, her fingers itching to capture the scene. Lily's cheeks were flushed with excitement as she sipped her juice. Winston's golden fur glowed in the dappled sunlight. The oaks stood like gentle guardians overhead. Mia's pencil danced across the paper, creating quick lines and shading. She glanced at Lily and Winston, then back at her sketch, refining the composition. Lily watched in fascination, occasionally piping up with suggestions: draw the leaves, mommy, or Winston's tail is wagging. Mia laughed and incorporated Lily's observations. Before long, she had the rough outline of a serene family portrait. It wasn't perfect, her lines wavered slightly in the uneven surface of the grass, and Lily's proportions were a bit off, but the feeling was there, a tender snapshot of love, companionship, and growth. After finishing the sketch, Mia gently tore it out of the notebook. She handed it to Lily, who stared at it with wide-eyed admiration. "For me?" Lily asked softly. Mia nodded. "I want you to have it. You and Winston are my inspiration." Lily grinned and pressed the drawing to her chest as though it was a prized treasure. Winston, sensing a celebratory mood, inched closer to Lily, tail wagging, and leaned his head on her lap. Mia's heart swelled. A trifling memory floated through her mind, the day she left Lily and Winston alone for the first time and came back to that life-changing scene. It felt like ages ago, yet she could recall every emotion vividly: the guilt, the relief, the astonishment. That was the moment the doors opened to a future she never imagined. Lily set the drawing aside and scrambled to pet Winston's ears. She giggled when he licked her hand. Mia realized that something profound had taken root in her life, an unwavering gratitude for simple moments. She had learned that sometimes the most extraordinary things happen on an otherwise ordinary day, in the hush of a living room or on a picnic blanket under oak trees. As the afternoon sun sank a bit lower, they packed up, leaving the preserve feeling more fulfilled than when they arrived. On the drive home, Lily hummed in the back seat, hugging the newly drawn portrait. Winston lay across the seat next to her, occasionally glancing out the window. Once they arrived, the house felt welcoming, not empty. Mia set the picnic basket on the kitchen counter and let Winston lap some water from his bowl. Lily took her prized drawing to her room, saying she wanted to hang it near her bed. Mia nodded her approval and helped her secure it to the wall, using a bit of tape to keep it in place. For the rest of the evening, Mia found herself smiling for no particular reason. Everything felt right. The anxiety that had once hovered over her like a dark cloud had loosened its grip. She still had challenges: a tight budget, a precarious balance between work and art, but she also had unwavering allies, a sweet dog that personified loyalty, a vibrant little girl brimming with curiosity and a blossoming sense of purpose. When bedtime rolled around, Mia tucked Lily into her small bed, Winston curling up on the rug. She leaned down to kiss Lily's forehead. "I love you, sweet girl," she whispered. Lily, half asleep, mumbled, "Love you, Mommy," and reached out a tiny hand to pat Winston's head. In that quiet moment, as the lamp's soft glow lit the room, Mia allowed herself one last look at the new drawing taped near Lily's bed. In it, Winston stood protector-like, Lily's small figure by his side, and the oak trees curved overhead in a gentle arc. It was just a pencil sketch, but to Mia, it was a testament to everything that mattered: resilience, connection, and the personal growth she never saw coming, but welcomed with open arms. Mia slipped out of the room, heart full, knowing that in this simple, unassuming home in Redwood City, a quiet miracle had taken place and continued to unfold day by day. True resilience often blooms in life's most ordinary moments. One morning, Mia left to run errands and returned to find her toddler, Lily, and their devoted golden retriever, Winston, bonded over an old sketchbook. That small, surprising scene unlocked more than just laughter and relief. It awakened new dreams, a renewed purpose, and deeper connections. Over time, Mia rediscovered her passion for art, launched a small creative business, and unearthed reserves of strength she didn't know she possessed. Winston stood steadfast through every twist and turn, his quiet loyalty an anchor for Mia and Lily alike. Their story reminds us that love appears in unexpected places, guiding us toward compassion, renewal, and self-discovery. If you found meaning or inspiration in this journey, Mia's resilience, Lily's curiosity, Winston's steadfast devotion, please show your support by hitting the like button, sharing this story with others, and subscribing for more heartwarming tales to come.